Hey boys and girls, Ken Smith Fishing. So before we get to this week's video, we're going to have our first two drawings. Now, if you haven't seen the video where I talk about this, I'll give you a little bit of details here, a lot more details in the video up there top left. But basically, so Spark Energy's come in a big way to support our fishing community here in Texas this year, and to some degree outside of Texas as well. And what they're doing for us, so there's a bunch of added prize money in the Bass Champ circuits for Spark customers. There's ways to win money catching an 8-pound plus fish, and also we did 8 or 9 lakes. I can't remember which one it is. I'll put it down below. For Big Bass of the Year, that's also a share lunker in those lakes, $2,000. They're giving away a ton of money, and they're going to do it mostly for their customers, but also for those guys who can't be a customer or who can't yet be a customer. They're in a contract with an early termination fee, or you guys outside of Texas that can't be Spark customers, we got a drawing for you guys too. In this bowl are people who have signed up at sparkfishing.com to become Spark customers, or if you are already a Spark customer, go on that same website, sparkfishing.com, and enter for the drawing, but note your account number so we know you go in this bowl. There's 14 names in this bowl right now. Now, that bowl's going to fill up because we had a bunch of signups this week. This is just through the last Friday, so we have a cutoff. This next week's drawings will be for the folks that get in the drawing through this Friday, and so on and so on. This bowl is everybody else. Everybody who has gone on to Spark Fishing and is not a Spark customer and has signed up for the drawing. We're going to do 3 of these a month and 1 of these a month. And this is a really, really cool deal. So let's do the Spark customer. Let's do the Spark customer first. So I have mixed these up. Let's see who we're going to get here. We've had one winner already. The Beyondies father and son team won 6th place. If y'all didn't see that, they won 6th place at Falcon. They won $750 for 6th place plus $2,000 for Spark money. They won $2,750. They actually won more money than 3rd place won. So let's see who's going to win this one this week. It's this ticket right here, and it is, man, I would draw a name that I cannot pronounce. Garrett Neshaba, N-E-S-H-Y-B-A, from Cypress, Texas. Garrett, you're the winner of the first ever Spark giveaway on Ken Smith Fishing. Now let's go to the other bowl. And we got, and by the way, Garrett, I'll connect with you so that we get you paid here pretty quick. Go to the other bowl, other bowl, other bowl. This is everybody else, and it's this guy right here. And it's Eugene Brock out of Pampa, Texas. Congratulations, Eugene. Hopefully you're eventually able to join us and become a Spark customer. So that's our 2. By the way, we did 2 tonight because we had the money to do it for January, but we wanted to give everybody a chance to sign up. So 2 tonight, 2 next week, and then we'll go to 1 drawing per week. 1 out of these first 3 weeks and 1 out of this bowl for the 4th week. So there you go. All right, Falcon video. So we originally did the I hope I get this right, 215, and then we found out that the 21E is their tournament edition. And so the first 2 videos, I've not done 4 videos on any boat, but I'm going to do it on this boat because I feel like I'm really reviewing 2 boats. I'm going to grade the 21E, and I'm going to grade it Thursday. But today what you're going to see is I got to go over and meet Billy Sarton at Sarton Marine and go through one of his customers. John Sanko brought over his 2020 21E, and I got to go through that boat to see the difference between that boat and the 215. Below, the hull is the same. It's just top cap and the features. So you got kind of a base package boat in the 215, and then you got the tournament edition with a lot more amenities and upgrades to the graphs in it. So we're going to look at the 21 TE today, and then I'm going to come back on Thursday and I'm going to grade that boat, and I'll talk about where the differences are, but you'll see the grading on that boat. You're going to hear me mention, actually, let's do that, and I'll come back with one more thought at the close here.
All right, guys, good morning. We're going to have a little bit of traffic noise. Actually, here comes a Dodge. We'll let him go by. Good morning, guys. Ken Smith. We are here at Sarton Marine outside of Yantis, Texas, with John Sanko, who came down here to let me look at his 2020 Falcon F21 Tournament Edition. So just to clarify, so this is basically the same hull we looked at on the 215, so it's the same below the waterline, but it's different above the waterline. So we wanted to look at this boat, and I'm going to show you some stuff John's done to trick it out himself. Specifically, he is totally geeked out. He now has 360 and live scope, and he set it up on a pivot pole that I think he may have made himself, but we'll check that out in a minute. One thing I noticed about this boat, I don't guess I have seen 15-foot talons before. Those things are massive, but you know, in Texas, you can fish most of your stuff unless you're really offshore with a 15-foot talon. So this boat, he bought this boat in September. The boat's got about 20 hours on it. You can see he's turning a 23 pitch like the rest of us, 250 Mercury Pro XS, 23 pitch 3-blade Fury. And I had talked about it in the other boat, so it's a different console setup. I think this is the more standard console setup. They still do have this little challenge down here. So you see they've put your O-crap handle on the co-angler side under your rods. That's a head scratcher, but they'll figure it out. You see he's got C-deck in the floor, which I love. One thing I did note on the other side, and it's the same thing we saw in the other boat, and it's something we've talked about quite a bit, is anything, now remember, so you fish fork, you said 90% of the time?
Yes.
So 90% of the time on fork, guess what fork has? It has timber. And this is that challenge, right, of badging below the waterline. Now, we talked about on the Predator, they've set that in the glass and it looks really cool, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go that way, or to start moving the badging above the waterline, which a lot of boat manufacturers are doing. But that's the same challenge we've seen on the Phoenix, and we'll see on the Vexus, I'm almost certain, as we do more of this. Another thing that was pointed out to me that I got wrong because I didn't look close is these trailers are set on, they're not torsion axles, they're set on leaf springs. Sorry, I lost my mind there for just a second. And then John also pointed out he installed, this was not the factory installed steps, he put the steps on there himself. Trick step. Which is, that's pretty cool. It just goes on there with a bracket.
Yeah, this I did have to drill one hole through here because of this safety cable little area of metal here I had to drill through. But other than that, it was an easy install.
Easy install. Yeah. And it's way out away from the boat, so you can't hit it. That was the first time I saw one of these. I thought, oh crap, I'm going to run into that with my boat. Let's crawl, and by the way, I think we covered this at the other boat, but let's do it now that I know we have good audio. So it's the Fulton F2 winch and the Fulton jack. That's kind of the best stuff that I've seen. I do believe, I'm almost certain, the Falcon trailer is made by the same folks who make the Phoenix trailer. I'm almost certain that's the case. Hey, so this is something funny that I just noticed after doing the Bass Cat. I see where the trailer lights are coming through there, and so those are going to be in there, but what they've done so you don't mess it up is they've moved the pin to the side as opposed to what I had in my Ranger when I told y'all Joel pinched my wires inside the trailer. Why is that camera upside down? What in the world? So Billy Sarton walked out here with me, and one of the question I had was about, a lot of these manufacturers are going to that right there. That's called a vault hub, and I didn't know what it is. So I'm gonna let Billy, I'm gonna hand him a mic, or I'm gonna hold a mic and let him tell you what that means.
The vault system is a system that is typically 100,000 mile till you service them. It's a hybrid grease. It's a grease that when the hub heats up, it turns to oil. When it cools back down, it turns to grease. Typically, you have no issues with these hubs until 100,000 miles. You need to look at them then.
And so you're more and more manufacturers are going to this particular system, aren't they?
Yeah, just about everybody. Every typical trailer manufacturer is using them, and been around for a few years, and we don't have any issues out of them at all.
And you said it's actually a pressurized system.
Very low pressure, about 3 to 5 pounds on them once they're heated up, and if your trailer sits in a shop, a hot building for 2 or 3 months in the middle of the summer, you'll see maybe a little bit of seepage come out, and that's normal. It's pressurized, so it'll push it out just a bit and clean it up and go. And other than that, we we have no issues out of them.
So if I asked him, was that a sign of failure? And he said, no, that's just what happens if you let it set up, which most of us in the summertime probably are fishing out of them, so it's probably not an issue very often.
That is very true. That is very true.
Cool. I had been wondering, because I've had, I talked about vaults, and I've had, if you've ever owned a bass boat, you've been stuck on the side of the road with a blown hub, pretty much. And I've not had one of the new ones, but in the oil bath, I've luckily, God, I can't believe I just said that out loud. I should knock on wood, but I've not had one of them fail. But over the years, I've had many, especially some of my Skeeters I had issues with. So that's cool that somebody's got something new out there. I'm assuming that probably came out of the trucking industry. Do you know?
Yes, it did many years ago. Vault is owned by Dexter Axles nowadays. They've been around forever and ever. This type of system's been out probably 10 years maybe now, and it's developed to what you see today.
Very cool. So Billy was also telling me that on the tournament edition, so the first boat we looked at was not the tournament edition, but on the tournament edition, they come standard with a hydraulic jack plate on there. That is an Atlas jack plate. So the jack plate's standard on there, and he said this boat is pretty much standard out of the factory, other than I guess the trailer steps that, as we talked about, John added to the boat. Okay, so immediate difference is that's a different center box console setup. Got the slam latch on it. Somebody likes power baits. Hey, we need some organization done over here. That's unacceptable.
That's when I was I got a lot of crappie fishing stuff in there too.
So
I'm more organized than you.
I do like the seats in this boat, but I talked about this in the other boat. This is tighter than a lot of the other cockpits in the boats. It's pulled back, which is because they've got such a big front deck in the boat, and as we talked about in the other boat. So that's interesting. So what they did was, the other boat, the console was hitting me down here. It was kind of hitting me in a weird position. That's better. It's just a different feel because you're not up onto the console, you're behind the console. And Stephen, one of the owners of Falcon, had told me they had changed this from the last boat. See, he's gone with the single. So the Solex, 2 Solexes are the standard in this model boat. You see he's got them in dash, which is going to have the same challenge I have in my boat, that the steering wheel's in the way. A lot of guys are double stacking or lifting that, which would be easy to do obviously in here. I talked about in the other boat, I love just regular old flip switches. You got your tie off right there. Got a little junk drawer over here. Live wells. Back there in the back is the I'm pretty sure that's a remote drain plug. Ouch. Yep, remote drain plug. As we talked about, everybody needs that spot right there so you can lean out there just for doing whatever a guy might want to do back there. So John just pointed something out, and I'm glad he did. So that was one of the changes in the newer model boats, is a USB plug over there, still not in a box, which interestingly I've talked to a couple of manufacturers, and the challenge is getting the wiring to that box. Some guys have done it, some haven't. This is the same issue I talked about in the other boat. Now that doesn't lift. You could unscrew it and pull it out. Oops, sorry about that. So you do have a little potential water issues in there. And another thing I haven't talked about that I've heard about recently is those slam latches have very tight tolerances, so they are a challenge from a manufacturing standpoint. I didn't talk about this in the other boat, but it does have a tackle storage system built in it. I didn't realize that's actually one box with 2 lids. Well, that's one way to get around that problem. You guys have heard me talk about the issues I had in my Ranger with, so the challenge is when that is all one great big box, the weight is on a single strip of a hinge, and those aren't it is what it is, right? It's what a bass boat uses, but you guys know I've had fits with mine. So what they have done, let's see if we can do this. they've made that one box all the way through, but they give you 2 lids on it. I actually like that idea. So you can choose to use it as one big box or 2 little boxes because it's got the dividers built into it. I know I'm giving y'all terrible camera angles there. So one of the things we talked about, and this is, I'm seeing this more and more, so you can see John's got 4 rods there. You could stack a few more on there, but that big long Minn Kota, which is not just Minn Kota, it's all those long trolling motor shafts, you're getting less and less room on the port side of these boats to stack your rods. Obviously he likes to fish offshore. He's got the 360 as well as his Garmin pole. Show me how your Garmin pole works.
Yeah, I'll put it in. So basically when I get onto a spot, it's real quick. So this is already loosened up. I throw it in here. I didn't loosen it up enough, but and then I just tighten it up about 3 turns, and then I just point in the direction I want. What I did was I put in a lithium battery from Amped Outdoors, so these charge really fast. So if I just need to, I like the lids going up this way because I know on both sides, if you want to access your rods, you could basically do it from in my metal shop. I put my boat in, I could pre-tournament day get to my rods, get to this, charge them, and basically did all the wiring so it doesn't draw off any of my batteries, making battery in the back.
How long will that little battery run your Garmin?
Probably about 5 days. I forget how many amps I bought on that one. It's somewhere between 36 and 50 amp lithium
Holy
battery.
cow.
And it was affordable by Amped Outdoors. And
so then wherever you point this, your Garmin's pointing the opposite direction.
So this would be backwards. This is, I could probably draw a marker, but I know what it is. I could probably draw a black marker arrow that wherever this is pointing, that's where that beam's shooting. And then that way with the Ultrex, if you had it mounted on the Ultrex and it's trying to right itself, it's not pointing where you want it. So I like doing it this way. I do crappie fish sometimes, so I did figure out how to use it for bass as well. So it's a must-have for me. And I think.
How come you didn't double stack them?
I had this mount from a purchase I made. I just wanted to use the mount.
Yeah, because you got good room up here to double stack systems.
Yeah, that's something I could probably do just to make some room getting up in and out of the boat. If I got this out of the way, I'd have more room.
A particular system or one like it is what I've seen in almost all. So I noticed down here the other day how many crappie guides are on fork, and they're all running a system like that, and they do that so they can lock on those piles, they can spot lock, and they can scan those piles. They want to be able to just scan those piles or scan other piles they've got right there together. So that's, probably not something you're going to see in a lot of bass boats because most of us aren't going to take the time to deploy that every time I stop on a spot. But if you're a fun fisherman, if you're a big fish fisherman like a lot of the guys down here at Fork are, if you're a crappie fisherman, that makes a lot of sense, and it's probably something I would look into. So one other thing we just noted that's different is that shrouding, and there's a term for it, but I can't remember what it's called, but that is only, Billy just said, available in the Predator and in the Tournament Edition series. I do love, as you guys know, matter of fact, that's one of the best trim gauges or analog gauges I've seen. Great big, really clear white. That's maybe not the best place to put your trim gauge, but again, you kind of run out of room on these things, right? There's only so much room you can get. This is a 12, so I believe the 15 would probably fit in that. Yeah, so 15 will fit in there as well. That's awesome. We've talked about that a lot. There's something about having a flat spot right there if you want to mount your other graph over there, which a lot of us do. That's super, super handy. So there is a lot of leg room down here. That's funny, I've noticed this in several boats now where they're moving this step back closer to you, which helps you brace. The other thing I've noticed is, now, I don't know, we talked about this in the other boat, but what they did was, which is brilliant, another thing I've had problems with my Ranger in, is they have sloped the floor and they've given you 2 separate drains and everything rolls. I want to putt on a green like that where everything breaks to the hole. I might be a pretty good golfer if I could find that, but you can see the water all drains. Now this is something else and this is dirty, this isn't marked up, but one of the other things I'm starting to hear from a whole bunch of you guys is that maybe our sea deck is not as durable as carpet is, let's put it that way. And I'll tell you, I have certainly experienced that in my Ranger. The corners of it are peeling up a little bit, and as you guys know, I have dog toes in my boat a lot, so they scratch up some. I suspect, and this probably actually isn't SeaDek. There's 2 or 3 manufacturers that I know of this particular this foam or whatever that's called, but I would suspect we'll see that continue to get more and more durable. This isn't scratched up. He just, like me, he just doesn't clean his boat quite as often as some guys do. We should all be better about it. And I don't know if I talked about that, but I really do like the seats. The seats are very comfortable. So kind of going through the live well system, it's got an I cannot say that word, oxygenator standard. It's also got a pump out standard, so it's got everything you would want in your live wells. Looks to be pretty good sized live wells. Nothing overly fancy about them, which it's a live well, right? So we talked about this. That's so cool, that triple fold. And if your seat's not in it, which I put my pole on the back, but man, that's pretty damn clean right there, excuse my language. You got your pumps right underneath this single panel, which 6 screws pulls your panel out. You got tons of prop storage. You got tons of, and that's another thing I talked about in this boat. You got tons of prop storage, tons of tool storage, but I really, really like having real easy access. Guys, if you don't go around your motor at least once a quarter, if not more often than that, with a set of wrenches and make sure it's tight, you're absolutely going to have a problem. Bill, have you ever seen a motor fall off a boat because somebody didn't tighten the bolts?
I've seen many of them.
As Dickie said, the last thing you want to see pulling your boat home is sparks, because he dropped a motor on the highway pulling it back to Houston one day, and that's because all you got to do is take a wrench to it, right? Go around it with a wrench, you won't have that problem. But that's a clean setup back here. Got his Minn Kota, so that's the precision charger. That's the charger, which is one of the very few that can tell the difference between a gel battery and a lead cell battery. You can see Billy over shaking his head because he knows that's right. We're going to do a video about this, but there's a lot of guys that are running a gel battery in combination with lead cell batteries, and if you're doing that, you're probably going to have problems with some of those batteries. We'll get to that video because I got a real technical guy who's going to talk to us about that. But just know this, if you're running 1 or 3 gels and the other ones are regular lead cell, and you're running most chargers, 1 of your batteries or 3 of your batteries are not getting fully charged every time. The only other thing to mention is that you can get a center seat there for those of us with kids, or if you're trying to guide out of the boat, you can set it up as a center seat. But otherwise, that's the F21 Tournament Edition boat. That boat's 21 feet 5 inches long, and I've been asked, and I'm probably going to go ahead and do the Predator too. It may take me a few weeks to get to it. I got a lot coming. But it's a much shorter boat. It's just over 20 feet long, but it's a much faster boat too. So,
okay, so you heard me in that video mention the Predator, the F20 Predator. That's a 20-foot, I believe it's a 2-inch boat. That is their newest boat. That's the boat that most of their pros are in. It's probably smaller than what I'm interested in. Obviously, it's faster because it's a foot shorter. If you guys give me enough comments that you want me to look at that Predator, I'll go look at it. I think it's probably a little better performing. I know it's a better performing boat. And there's some other things on it that I think I would like better, but it's a little bit on the small end for what I'm looking for. But if you guys want me to review that boat, I've already identified a couple of people who have them. And I'll be glad to go and do that boat if I get enough guys. I mean, if I get 2 guys say do it, I'm not going to. But if I get 10 or 15 guys say do the Predator, I'll go do the Predator too. So stick with me. We'll be back on Thursday with the grading of these 2 boats, which again will be really one grade, but I'll talk about the differences. And then we're going to get a little fishing done. We're going to go to Bass Champs at Travis, going to fish down there. Remember, you guys, there's going to be $2,000 for the top finishing spark customer. Got to be in the top 10, but if you're in the top 10, you see there's not a lot of names in this bowl yet. Pretty good chance to win an extra $2,000 like the Beyondies did down at Falcon. And then there's going to be $4,000 at the second. Well, there'll be $2,000 at Fork, the first one for the North Division. There wasn't a winner at Rayburn, so there'll be $4,000 for a top 10 finish, top 10 finish for a Spark customer at the next East tournament, which I believe is on Toledo Bend. So stick around, got a lot more cool stuff to come, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks.